Most people think you have to bulk to get big and have to cut to get really lean. But what if I told you you could do both at the same time? So this is what I looked like in 2021, going into university, and I think I was about like 135 pounds. I had zero gym experience, but I knew I wanted to improve my physique. I wanted a transformation that would last me like the rest of my life, so I wouldn't have to keep going through the cycles of bulking and then cutting and then doing all this annoying work. It took a lot of research and testing to find what really worked with my body, and honestly it took a little longer than my peers, but I think it was worth it. So today I'll break down exactly how I put on lean muscle and stay in shape year round. If you prefer the written format, I do have a more detailed blueprint. I call it the No BS Blueprint for Fat Loss for Busy People. You can grab that down below. It's completely free. And there I actually really break down exactly how everything works. Let's first go over the basic concepts of bulking, cutting, and then what I did. So bulking is when you eat in a caloric surplus, meaning that you essentially just eat more calories than your maintenance, and your maintenance is the amount of calories you need to maintain your current body weight, current body composition as well. So eating just above that, I would say roughly like 500 calories is a healthy and normal surplus. And then for deficit, it's the same, it's just opposite. So it's maybe like 500 calories below your maintenance. And then what I did is called a body recomposition. So I ate in a slight caloric surplus. So instead of 500 calories above my maintenance, I ate maybe like 100 or 200. If you prefer doing it the numbers way like that, that's a good way of thinking about it. But I actually didn't count calories when I was doing it. I just started eating more than I already was. Like I just took the regular portions I was eating and then just had more of it. So then I knew I was in a surplus. Because at the time I didn't know about counting calories and all that stuff. And quite frankly, it's pretty annoying. So I just ate more. So body recompositions are when you build muscle but lose fat at the same time. These are really good for beginners because you guys have that advantage of beginner gains. So if you've been working out for a while, you know that at the start you were making tremendous progress. Like you did 2 lateral raises and your shoulders blew up like balloons. That's because your body wasn't used to the load it was putting on, and a lot of people call them beginner gains. So body recompositions are really good for beginners because you can take advantage of that. Body recomps are also very good for fat people because you have a lot of energy stored up. So you can utilize that well. However, they are more difficult for more experienced lifters who are past that beginner gains phase, but it's still possible. So I think people overcomplicate a lot of the fitness stuff, especially with calories. Just eat more than you burn and you'll gain weight. That's it. You don't need to overcomplicate it. If you eat more than you burn, you'll gain weight. And the reason why you won't see progress as fast as if someone was just doing a bulking phase and then a cutting phase is because the caloric surplus is so much smaller. Like we talked about, maybe average caloric surplus for a bulk is maybe like 500. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but that's a good number. And then for body recomp, if you're only doing 100 and 200 surplus, it'll take you a little bit longer to achieve the same weight naturally, right? It just makes sense. However, the process is much more enjoyable because when I was bulking, I felt like I was shoveling food in my mouth, and I can't eat a lot in one sitting, or at least I couldn't at the time. I'm a fat ass now, but I can't eat a lot in one sitting. So when I tried to just make the portions larger, I honestly wanted to throw up after the meals because I just felt like I was forcing myself to eat. So putting myself in a smaller surplus, like 100 and 200, was much more enjoyable for me, and I could stick to it longer. And that's what was key. The next thing you want to be mindful of is also just protein. It's pretty obvious. Like they always say 1 gram per pound of body fat for protein. However, I think the optimal range is actually 0.82 grams of protein per pound of body fat. You don't have to do 1 gram. Might be too much also because it stables off because your body can't absorb that much anymore and it just excretes it. So that's one way you can save money on protein and stuff. Just do 0.82 grams of protein per pound of body fat, but that's a lot of numbers. And if you don't like numbers, eat a lot of whole lean proteins such as beef, fatty fish. I like whitefish, salmon. Those are fantastic. Chicken breasts, of course, everyone talks about those, but these are lean protein sources, and as long as you just eat a good amount of those, you'll be fine. Okay, then for strength training, there's just two main things you want to focus on. It's compound movements and progressively overloading. So compound movements incorporate a lot of different muscle groups, and they are just amazing. I love them because I also train for athletic performance. So using a bunch of different muscle groups helps a lot. It's way better, especially if you're a beginner, than using machines, because machines do a good job of isolating your muscles, but if you start out with those, you won't build up the stabilizers that you would if you were using free weights or doing compound movements. So I highly recommend doing compound movements. These would be your squat, your bench press, your deadlift, hip thrust. All of these larger movements are compound movements. And then for progressive overload, you just need to keep adding more weight on as you progress. Because think about it. If you are benching the bar and you can't do it at first, over time you'll be able to do it because you get stronger, right? So as you get stronger, you need to change the load in accordance to your progress. So that way you are constantly challenging yourself. Otherwise, you'd be lifting the same weight on day 1 as you are on day 1000. And that's kind of not what you want. Easy way to do this is to add more weight, right? If you're doing compound movements, deadlift, squat, all that stuff, you can just add more weight. But if you're doing body weight exercises like push-ups, pull-ups, a great way to do this is to just add more reps. And then eventually you can add body weight to that, but I would say most of you are just at the point where you should be adding more reps. And then now for 3 common problems when it comes to body recomposition. So when people think they have to lose fat while building muscle at the same time, they put a lot of importance on cardio because they don't want to get fat, right? And what happens is if you do too much cardio, too much running, too much biking, all of that stuff, it'll eat into your resistance training. Sometimes people do cardio more than they resistance train, and that ends up burning muscle as well as fat. And that's not what you want. You want to just burn the fat while building muscle. So be careful with the cardio. Don't make it too intense and too frequent. It shouldn't be more than your resistance training throughout the week. Another thing is not pushing yourself hard enough in training. So you don't have to go to failure. You don't have to go to where you're literally shaking and having an aneurysm, but you need to go to the point to where it's uncomfortable. Discomfort is where improvement occurs. I want you guys to really dig deep, push yourself. I know it's hard because you're holding yourself accountable, but I want you to push yourself during strength training. Don't just go there, do a little bit of weights, right? And then go on your phone and tell people you went to the gym today. That doesn't count. All right, go there and train with purpose. So actually stimulate your muscles. That's how you get them to grow, and really focus on your form and technique rather than outlifting the dickhead next to you. All right, just that's one thing to keep in mind, and how you can focus on yourself and improving every time. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is yesterday's you. So can you lift more than that person, or can you lift in a way that's more effective and better than what that person did? So as long as you make these small changes and incremental improvements over time, you will make tremendous progress. And the last one is a mindset thing, because it can be demoralizing since you are training for longer to what seems like your peer did it in much shorter time because they ate in a higher caloric surplus. So of course they reached your goal weight. Maybe your goal weight was, if you're 135 like I was, your goal weight is 150 pounds. They will reach that before you do. But you will be able to outlast them in the long term. They will just end up cutting to get lean, and then they will stay like that for a few months, maybe, probably a few weeks, and then they'll repeat the process. But for you, if you're training for that long-term sustainability, health benefits, and enjoyability, you will not have to go through these ups and downs of bulking, cutting, and then, being depressed and whatever. Your graph will look linear like that as you will grow, because you're making progress over time, yes, at a slower pace, but one, it's more enjoyable because it's sustainable. It's something you can stick to, and that's why I like it. So when you're doing food, it's really important to not make a diet that is too restrictive and something that you cannot stick to, right? Because these guys that are cutting are probably doing like chicken and rice every day. But do you want to be eating chicken and rice every day for the rest of your life? No, right? Like, you still want to eat the foods you enjoy. So I would use this method instead, even if it takes longer to get your progress. So don't be discouraged by how long it's taking. Rather, just enjoy the process. Stay consistent, celebrate your wins. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing except for your progress. And you, my friend, will build so much muscle while losing so much fat. And that is pretty much it. Like I said, if you want a detailed guide on exactly how to do it, down below in the description, there's a no BS blueprint for fat loss, especially for busy people. Like if you're a student or if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, I know schedules can get busy. So I have some nutrition hacks and workouts. I have a, recommended workout in there that you can try out. And it is completely free. That's all. I'll see you guys in the next one.